Today's video is so crazy. I actually had to hit up Wawa before I filmed it because I needed a coffee just to have the energy to talk about just everything that we have to talk about. So I started out this morning preparing for this video thinking we were just going to be talking about like the latest Air Jordan colorway or maybe the BRED ones coming in patent leather, which by the way we will talk about. But man, today has been one of the craziest days. In fact, I'm actually going to push this video till tomorrow, but today for you guys, because I just have so much to talk about and it's going to take forever to edit. So in today's video, we're covering the brand new Cause Sakai Nike collaboration. We're talking about the VP of Nike North America stepping down because of her son's resale business. Oh, and of course, you can't forget like the 1,700 different Yeezys that Yeezy Mafia announced are coming out in the next couple months. Guys, this video is going to be one of the craziest weekly heats ever. And I guess without further ado, I should just jump into the intro. So what's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and this is Weekly Heat. I usually do an intro here, but I just don't think I'm gonna have time. So if you guys want to subscribe, make sure to subscribe. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, there are links in the description below. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And because we've got so much to talk about in today's video, I wanted to start things off on a happy note and talk about the brand new Doernbecher Air Jordan 1s. Now, if you're not familiar, Doernbecher is a children's hospital that does incredible work, and every year Nike and Jordan Brand team up with Doernbecher for a fundraising event. Usually what happens is that Nike actually has some children from the Doernbecher Children's Hospital design their own sneaker, and then they sell that sneaker and the money goes to Doernbecher Children's Hospital. And usually there's this big event where they announce all the different sneakers and they auction off some special edition versions of those shoes, and then the shoes later released to the public. But obviously this year with COVID still being very, very serious, it made sense that they didn't want to hold this giant event, and so instead what they did was release one sneaker model that was inspired by the 14 different Air Jordan models that had released before it. And the shoe that they decided to use as the canvas was the Air Jordan 1. So from a distance, this Air Jordan 1 looks like a crazy mess of colors, but when you get up close to it, you'll realize that each different panel of the shoe is inspired by a different one of the 14 Air Jordan Doernbechers. If you guys have a second, you should definitely check out Jacques Slade's video on this pair of sneakers. He does this incredible deep dive into the shoes, and he's probably one of the only YouTubers who will actually be able to get a pair of these just because there's only 17 available. That's right, there's only 17 pairs of these made, which actually, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense when it comes to charity. So obviously, because there's only 17 pairs of these shoes, they're not going to be sold through the sneakers app or through regular Nike stores. Instead, they're all getting auctioned off. And the first pair was actually auctioned off on the day of the event, and I believe the final selling price for this shoe was like $700,000, which is just an insane amount of money. The other 16 pairs went up for auction shortly after. I'm not sure if those auctions have ended, but if they end anywhere close to what the first pair ended for, they're going to be donating a lot of money towards the Doernbecher Children's Hospital. I do think though that that first pair did have like special packaging, so it was a slightly more expensive pair of sneakers, but overall they should go for a lot of money because they're so limited and people really want to help out that hospital. So even though I don't love the way the design turned out from a purely aesthetic point of view, I love the concept, I love what it's trying to accomplish, and I love the fact that the Doernbecher Children's Hospital is getting even more funding. Do you guys remember that Nice Kicks NMD that released back in like 2016? It was like a red and black tie-dye and it was so sick. Well, it looks like Nice Kicks is releasing another version of that shoe, except this time around in black and white and on a 4D midsole. Thanks to houseofheat.co, detailed images have now come out of the upcoming Nice Kicks Adidas Ultra 4D Have a Nice Day. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but I've got to say this is one of my favorite Ultra 4Ds that have ever released. The black and white tie-dye on this shoe just looks so crazy and it reminds me so much of the original collaboration, a shoe which I will probably never be able to get. I love it. So the tie-dye detail on the shoe only covers the midfoot and the toe of the sneaker. The rest of the shoe comes in black Primeknit or black 4D, depending on which part of the shoe that you're looking at. And if you're like me and you want to grab a pair for yourself, you actually don't have very long to wait at all. In fact, the shoe is supposed to be releasing on March 5th for a retail price of $250. Now moving on to one of the bigger and I guess heavier topics in today's video, I wanted to talk about the resignation of Nike's VP of North America, Ann Hebert. So apparently Ann Hebert is a 25-year Nike veteran and just recently took the position of Vice President and General Manager of North America. Now, I don't know her personally, but I think it's fair to say that she's been doing an incredible job just based on the success of Nike. Not only that, but a company like Nike doesn't keep you around for 25 years unless you're very valuable to the company. But what makes her resignation so noteworthy is seemingly why it happened. Apparently, Ann Hebert's son is West Coast Streetwear on Instagram, who's a very well-known reseller. And even though that connection was never really publicly known, apparently it was disclosed to Nike back in 2018. But the reason this is all blowing up now is because apparently Joe from West Coast Streetwear did an interview with Bloomberg and talked about his business and how it all works, and happened to disclose the fact that he was related to the VP of Nike. Now, according to the Bloomberg article, the way that happened was that he was showing the journalist his American Express statement, and at the top of his statement it had his mom's name and not his name. And not only that, the statement was showing that he had spent $132,000 on pairs of sneakers. So when it became public that the 19-year-old behind West Coast Streetwear was directly related to the North American VP of Nike, people got pissed. And honestly, I can totally understand why. Resellers don't have a great reputation within the sneaker community, especially when they're reselling the quantities that he was reselling. And the fact that he is the son of someone so high up at Nike really makes you wonder if the whole thing's rigged. Now, like I said before, Anne actually did disclose the fact that her son was running this business to Nike back in 2018, and because she wasn't directly involved in the business, there was no conflict of interest, so at the time it didn't seem like a problem. And in all honesty, I like to believe the best in people, and I just don't think that she was actually involved in that business. And the reason I say that is because she's the VP of North America at Nike. She's a very smart person, and she realizes that if she got involved in that could be a major problem. Now, I don't know what she's making at Nike, but I can almost guarantee you whatever she's making is not worth jeopardizing for giving her son a couple discounts on pairs of sneakers. But while I think there was nothing really nefarious going on, and let me just say this is all completely my own opinion, I'm basing this on my own guesses, this is not rooted in fact, I don't really know anything more about the situation than what was reported in the article, it isn't a good look. The fact that the son of someone who is just so high up at Nike is kind of one of like the biggest underground resellers is a really bad look. And it's one of those situations where in your head you're just like, they should have known better. They should have realized that that was not okay. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with reselling, but when the company that your mom works for is so against it and they're trying to get products directly to the consumers rather than to the resellers, it's not a great look. All that being said, it's an unfortunate situation. It sucks that she lost her job or resigned her job. I don't know if it was under pressure or if she just did that on her own because of something that her son was involved in. And whether you agree with his business or not, one thing I have noticed is that on his social media, he's getting just an insane amount of hate. And whether you think that he deserves it or not, it sucks, and it's not something that I would ever suggest you do. Don't go and hate on someone because you don't know the situation, you don't know what they're going through. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look great, but at the same time, it's like we can only control who we are and what we do, and I think we should just treat other people the way that we want to be treated and leave it at that. But moving on to something a little bit more upbeat, it looks like around Christmas time of this year, we're going to be getting a brand new women's Air Jordan 11 called the Women's Air Jordan 11 Animal. Now, apparently this shoe is going to be very similar to the Animal Instinct 3s that released last year, and it's going to be an animal print, or I guess furry Air Jordan 11. Now, if you guys know me, I'm not a huge fan of fur sneakers because I just don't like sneakers that shed. I know it's an interesting look and people love it, but it's just not for me personally, so these shoes are a hard pass for me. Now, the image that you're seeing on screen is a rendering based on leaked information about the shoe. It's not the actual sneaker itself, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the shoe ends up looking like this because we've had a lot of Animal Instinct themed Air Jordans and Air Maxes, and they've all kind of looked like this. But let me know what you think about these shoes in the comment section down below, and whether you'd grab this pair for a significant other or maybe grab it for yourself. I'd love to know your thoughts. You guys know mine. I'm not in love with it. So if you guys caught any of my recent Weekly Heat videos, you know that I've been talking a lot about the Fragment Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s. And the reason those shoes are so interesting isn't just because they're so hyped, but it's also because they're like a 3-brand collaboration, which doesn't happen often. But it seems like 2021 might actually be the year of crazy triple collaborations because we just got word that there's going to be a KAWS, Sacai, and Nike Blazer dropping later this year. This was not a collab I ever thought would happen. Not because I don't think Sacai and KAWS can work well together, but just because they just seem like two completely different styles. But the reason we're hearing about this collaboration is because one of the photographers of Shitoze Abe's upcoming 2021 collection, the Sacai collection, actually posted one of the images online. And in the image, you can see that the pair of sneakers that the model is wearing is actually a KAWS, Sacai, and Nike collaboration. Now, obviously, we can't see that much of the sneaker because it's only one image and it's only of the front of the shoes, but based on images that we've already seen of the low-top Sacai Nike Blazers, we know what the silhouette of the sneaker will look like, and based on the colors that we see in this image, we can guess that it's going to be a maroon, orange, and yellow sneaker. Now, I have no idea why there are so many triple collaborations coming out this year. It's kind of a weird coincidence, but I'd be really interested to see if there's any more triple collabs that we don't know about yet that get leaked in the next couple months. Either way, it's a collaboration that I'm excited about, and I'm very excited to see better images of this shoe in the future. And obviously, as of right now, there is no release date. It's just a leaked image of a shoe. So in crazy news, at least for me, it looks like my favorite sneaker of all time, the BRED Air Jordan 1s, are returning in October of this year. I wish that was all there was to this story, but unfortunately, there's more. So apparently, yes, the BRED 1s, my favorite sneaker, are returning in October, but they're not returning as a standard BRED 1. They're returning as a patent leather BRED 1. Which honestly sucks because it's like one of those sneakers that we never really wanted, but people are still gonna buy it because it's a BRED 1. In my opinion, the BRED 1 is like the perfect sneaker. The color blocking is perfect, the colors are perfect, it's a great all-around shoe, but in patent leather, it's just not as good. Of course, if it does end up looking the way that it does in this rendering, I'm probably still gonna end up buying it because I just love the BRED 1. It's the only shoe that I have like multiple pairs of, but it is still extremely disappointing because it's been about 5 years since we had the last BRED 1, and I just want a new pair to rock. This rendering was done by one of my favorite people on Instagram, Sneakerhead, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that this rendering might not look exactly like the final sneaker because, as we all know with renderings, they're really based on what the colorway name is and not the actual image of the shoe, because usually no one really actually gets to see the shoe unless they work in the factory or work for Nike. So it is very possible that this shoe will end up looking worse. Unfortunately. Like Sneakerhead does a great job of making the shoes look incredible, and if they just hired him as a designer, Jordan Brand would just kill it. But you never know. You never know if it's gonna look like this or if it's gonna look like something that should never have been made. Let's just all hope that it does end up looking like this and doesn't get any worse because it's already a patent leather one. I mean, it's already kind of a step down from the original. Let's just hope that it just looks like this. But continuing on with some very quick shameless self-promotion, our brand new Apothecary tag mid-top socks are dropping this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So this was a collection that we designed months ago, but it's been through a couple different iterations before it's finally hitting the market, and it's finally happening this Friday, and I'm so stoked. The collection comes in 4 different colorways, which I think go well with a bunch of different sneakers, and the fact that they're mid-tops means that they're gonna be great for spring and summer. And obviously my favorite detail on the shoe is that tag logo detail, and surprisingly, it does not chafe. That was one thing I was worried about when we first got our samples in, but you don't actually feel it on your foot, which is amazing. These mids are incredibly comfortable. I wear them all the time. I'm so excited for this collection, and if you guys want to grab any of these socks for yourself, I'll make sure to leave a link to Apothecary's Instagram in the description below, and of course our website apothecary.com, which will open up this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. But now moving into the last part of the video, the YEEZY part of the video, which is probably going to be like more than half of the video. First off, huge thank you to YEEZY Mafia for leaking all of this information. Because of YEEZY Mafia, we know about like pretty much all of the Yeezys dropping for the next 3 or 4 months. So let's just start things off with all of the Yeezy releases for the rest of March, because believe me, there's a bunch of Yeezys dropping that we didn't even know were dropping. Obviously, this weekend we've got the Yeezy 450, but not only that, there's also a ton of other Yeezys dropping, like the Yeezy 700 V2 Creams, which look a lot like the Yeezy 700 V2 Statics that released back in 2018, but they're re-releasing in 2021 as a brand new silhouette. So apparently the Yeezy 700 V2 Creams are releasing on March 13th for a retail price of $300. 2 days after that, we've also got the Covalite 380s dropping on March 15th, which come in the Covalite colorway, which is essentially based off a mineral that comes in black, purple, and brown. It looks exactly how you'd think that it would look. In fact, it looks a lot like the black 380s. Then 4 days after that, on March 19th, we've got a brand new Quantum colorway coming out called the Sea Teal colorway. It looks a lot like the other Quantums, except it features some teal in the upper. Go figure. It's not a bad looking shoe, I don't mind it, it just looks very similar to a lot of the other Quantums, and we just had the original Quantum basketballs re-release on the 5th, so it's kind of weird that they're dropping 2 colorways that are so similar to each other, so close together. Of course, a day after that, on March 20th, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Ash Pearls, which after the 450s might be the most popular Yeezys dropping this month. Actually, that's not true. Once we get to the 26th, I'll tell you guys about another Yeezy, which is going to be even more insane. This shoe is obviously part of the Ash collection and comes in sort of a tan and gray makeup. And honestly, it's fine. It's just another 350 V2 in my opinion though. After that, we've got 2 new colorways of one of the best silhouettes of 2020 in my opinion, which I know a lot of you guys will disagree with, and that's the Yeezy Foam Runner. So the 2 different colorways that these shoes are dropping in are the Sand colorway, which looks a lot like the original Ararat colorway, except it's a little bit more tan, and also the MXT Moon Moon colorway, which is by far my favorite, and it's this really cool new mix of gray and light tan. It's such a cool marbled effect, and I think on this shoe, it looks incredible. Now, I know I'm gonna get a bunch of comments of people being like, you're an idiot, those shoes suck, and I totally understand, it's a weird looking sneaker, but until you've actually worn this shoe, and until you experience how it feels on foot, and how cool it is, like, you just don't get it. But on March 26th, you will have a chance to get it, because these shoes are both releasing on that day for a retail price of just $80. And then just a day after that, on March 27th, we've got the Yeezy 700 V3 Kyanite. So I've talked about the shoe a bunch already. I think it was in a sit or sell and maybe a weekly heat. It's basically a cream colored Yeezy 700 V3 with some blue accents, and I think it looks pretty good overall. I'm not sure exactly why it got pushed back so far, but for whatever reason it did, but now it's finally becoming available so that you and I can actually have a chance to grab it. But the drops don't end there. Continuing on into spring, there's even more Yeezys dropping, starting with the Yeezy 700 V1 Bright Blue. This shoe is sort of a flipped take on the Yeezy 700 V1 Suns. It comes in a primarily blue upper with a bright orange outsole, and there are actually a lot of details on this shoe which are very similar to the original Wave Runner colorway. I know I've been asking Adidas and Yeezy to do a bunch of bright Yeezy colorways, but this is not exactly what I had in mind. This 700 V1 Bright Blue is not for me personally, but based on how popular the Sun colorway is, I bet you this shoe will also be just as popular, and when it finally releases sometime this spring, it will definitely sell. Feels like I'm doing a sit or sell video right now because there are so many different shoes dropping, it's crazy. And then after that, we've got some more Yeezy slides dropping, this time in the Inflame Orange colorway and the Pure colorway. Now these slides are actually the cheapest pairs of Yeezy that you can grab, to my knowledge. They come in at a retail price of just $55, and these two colorways actually are pretty clean. The Pure colorway comes in sort of a light to mid brown color, and then the Inflame Orange colorway comes in a bright orange. What I really like about these shoes is how they're just a one-piece construction, like they're one piece of injected foam, and while they're not the most comfortable slides in the world, they definitely look very modern and very futuristic. And of course, they look like Yeezys, which is the main reason that anyone would buy them in the first place. So if you've been missing the Yeezy 700 MNVNs, they're finally returning, this time around in the bright cyan colorway. The color blocking of this 700 MNVN is very similar to that of all the previous MNVNs, however the color is the only thing that's really changed, and that color is a bright blue instead of like the bright orange, black, and creams that have been used on the shoe before. Of course, this shoe still features a giant reflective 700 logo on the side of the sneaker, which is kind of the main detail of the shoe, and from what I can tell from these images, it still features that infinity lacing system. I actually really like this color, and if I was to grab any 700 MNVN, this would probably be the one that I would get. Of course, no release date as of yet, but expect it to drop sometime in spring of this year. And then after that, we've got a pair of Yeezy Quantums, which we've actually already covered in a previous weekly heat. I originally called it the Flame Orange, but apparently it's called the Flash Orange colorway. It's a very similar shoe to all of the previous Quantums. The only real difference is the midfoot, which comes in browns and oranges rather than grays and creams. I mean, if you've been trying to grab a Quantum, you've had a lot of chances, and it looks like you're gonna have even more chances. Then following that up, we've got a brand new Yeezy 380 colorway called the Alien Blue colorway. As you probably guessed from the name, the shoe looks very similar to the original 380 colorway, the Alien colorway. The upper of this shoe looks very similar to the original, however, the side stripe seems to come in more of a green color, and the midsole and outsole of the shoe changed to blue. Personally, I actually kind of dig the Alien Blue colorway. I think it's probably the best 380 colorway to come out so far. I even like it better than the original. That said, will I pick up this colorway? Probably not. I'm kind of over 380s. They're very comfortable, but I just keep falling out of love with the style of the shoe. I just don't like it as much. So if you're not a fan of the release colorway of the Yeezy 450s, the Cloud White colorway, it actually looks like you're in luck. According to Yeezy Mafia, it looks like we're getting a second 450 in the Dark Slate colorway. Now let's be honest, let's just call it like it is. This is a black 450, and if you like the 450 but you didn't like the original colorway, this is the colorway to go for. Based on these images, the shoe comes in essentially all dark slate or all black, and it looks fine. I don't think it's as exciting looking as the original because you can't really see all the little details on the shoe. But hey, again, if you didn't like the original colorway, or maybe you missed out on the original colorway because apparently the Cloud Whites are going to be stupid limited, this is a good way to go. Currently, there is no official release date for the Yeezy 450 Dark Slate, but I would expect them to drop sometime in the spring. And then for the final story of the day, while we might not be getting a Yeezy 350 V3, we are getting a complete overhaul of the 350 V2. Recently leaked by Influence Visions on Instagram, it looks like the 350 V2 is getting a design overhaul. So based on these leaked images, it looks like the overall construction construction of the shoe is staying relatively the same and the overall shape of the shoe is staying the same. However, the materials on the upper are completely changing. The entire upper of the shoe seems to now come in a semi-translucent material, which allows you to see the underlays underneath. And not only that, it looks like they've completely redesigned the underlays to give them a much more modern and futuristic look. This new design definitely fits in line with Kanye's newer design language, and it makes a lot of sense that he's updating the sneaker. And maybe it's because I've seen so many 350 V2s at this point, but I'm gonna be real, I like this shoe a lot. It's just so different, and it's so new, and it's so fresh. I know it's not that big of an improvement, I know it's not that big of a change, but for me, as someone who reviews a lot of 350 V2s, it's pretty nice to see a change. Apparently this new 350 V2 is coming in what is being referred to as the mono pack, which features 4 different sneakers. And each one of these shoes features the same sort of construction and material usage, however the colors do kind of vary between colorways. The first colorway, which we've been looking at images of, is called the mono ice colorway and comes in tonal whites and also a blue side stripe. The second colorway is called the mono clay colorway and comes in browns, oranges, and yellows. The third colorway and the fourth colorway have yet to be pictured, but they're called the mono mist colorway and the mono light colorway. Now, according to houseofheat.co, the first 3 colorways, the ice, clay, and mist colorway, are all releasing on June 21st of this year. The fourth and final colorway, the light colorway, is apparently releasing 2 months later on August 21st. Now, I'm sure these release dates are just rumored and are very likely to change, or maybe haven't even been set yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if these shoes drop before the end of the year. And seriously, I can't wait. I'm so excited for a new pair of 350 V2s. I just can't wait to have a pair of these in hand. But with that, we finally finish up Weekly Heat for this week. I've actually finished my coffee, and thank God I had it, because there would have been no way I could have finished that video without it. But of course, as always, I would love to know your thoughts about every story that we talked about in today's video, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.